So here's David, the believer, the man after God's heart, struggling, really struggling. We see him struggling with God, the first two lines. We see him struggling with himself in the next two lines. And then at the end of verse 2, he's struggling with his enemy. He's struggling with God, he's struggling with himself, he's struggling with his enemy. This is a believer speaking here. He's struggling, he's wrestling. It happens. He's struggling first of all with God. Will you forget me forever? He challenges God. He complains to God. And he doesn't mean forget like we forget where we left our keys or our phones or our glasses. God doesn't have memory lapses like that. David means, Lord, you're ignoring me. You're neglecting me. Perhaps you've rejected me. In the next line, he tells us, you're turning your face. You're hiding your face from me. That's the meaning, isn't it? It's as if God has turned away from him, turned his back on David. That's a great difficulty for David. And it can feel like this in the life of the believer. We're assured, aren't we, by Isaiah, that God will never forget us, even if our father and mother forget us. And that's very unlikely to happen. But even if they did, the Lord will not forget you. He'll remember you, he'll take care of you. But it can feel like it, right? It feels like it sometimes. The Lord has forgotten us. He's neglecting us. So he's struggling with God. He's struggling also with himself. And I think a lot of us will identify with verse 2, wrestling with your own thoughts. How many of you do that? Struggling with your own thoughts. Those spinning wheels, those churning thoughts that we just can't seem to escape from. Maybe in the middle of the night, maybe in the middle of the day, but there they are. Sometimes it feels like our own minds, our own thoughts, are our own worst enemies, right? Many's the time I've wished I could just switch my brain off, switch my thoughts off. Go into a kind of state of oblivion, perhaps. But you can't. And these thoughts are doing nothing for David but producing sorrow in his heart. They're making him sad. And he can't stop them. He can't turn off the tap. And it's day after day. There's that relentlessness again. Will you reject me forever? And day after day, these thoughts are plaguing me. Wrestling. Feels like there's no end in sight, Lord. How long? He's struggling with God, he's struggling with himself, he's struggling with his enemy. He complains to God again at the end of verse 2. How long will my enemy triumph over me? It seems like this enemy, whoever or whatever that is getting the upper hand, is winning. Could have been Saul, probably most likely. Maybe Absalom, although I don't think he would have called his son Absalom his enemy. Perhaps even death itself is the enemy that is in his face, that is bringing him down, that is overcoming him. We don't know. It doesn't matter. One of the beautiful things about the Psalms is that they're not always tremendously specific, and that means we can all use them. We don't have to be tied to a certain particularity. So this is good for us all. Whatever your enemy happens to be, this applies to you. But that enemy seems to be having the upper hand in his life. Maybe the meaning is he's dying. Verse 3 might suggest that David is dying as far as he can tell. Give light to my eyes or I will sleep in death. He's going down fast. And he cries to the Lord to save him from death. The darkness of death. And so again he challenges the Lord. Because he belongs to the Lord. He challenges the Lord. How long, how long? These are his troubled thoughts. These are his tortured thoughts. These are his agonizing thoughts as he complains to the Lord and challenges him. Perhaps you think it's inappropriate to talk to the Lord like that. Perhaps you wouldn't dream of talking to the Lord in that way, challenging him, even complaining against him. Perhaps you think it's disrespectful. But clearly, it's allowed, even encouraged. We are allowed to talk to the Lord with the greatest of respect, yes, but with the greatest of honesty and the pouring out of the heart.